What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Gary Russell Jr. versus Mark Magsayo, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the WBC Featherweight World Championship. And this fight is going to be Saturday, January 22nd, from the Borgata Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And this fight is going to be broadcasted on Showtime. And to get both fighters' resumes, Gary Russell Jr., fighting out of the United States, holds a record of 31 wins, 1 defeat with 18 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently not ranked by BoxRec in the featherweight division. However, he is the current reigning WBC Featherweight World Champion since 2015, and he's also the former WBO Featherweight World Title Challenger. And out to list his one and only defeat, it came by majority decision against Vasyl Lomachenko, and that was for the WBO Featherweight World Title. And in my opinion, it shouldn't have been a majority decision. It should have really been a unanimous decision in favor of Loma. But now to list some of his best victories, Gary Russell Jr. has beaten the likes of Johnny Gonzalez by knockout, Patrick Hyland by knockout, Oscar Escandon by knockout, Joseph Diaz Jr. by unanimous decision, Kiko Martinez by knockout, and he's coming off a wide unanimous, or a considerably clear unanimous decision victory over Tuxegut Nyambayar back in February of 2020, and it was actually one of the first fights I did predict. And now to list his opponent's resume, Mark Magsayo, fighting out of the Philippines, holds a record of 23 wins, no defeats with 16 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 20 by BoxRec in the featherweight division, and he's coming off a really nice win, which was that knockout victory over Julio Ceja after coming back from being dropped. I mean, he did score a knockdown early in the first round, then got dropped and was really losing the fight until he did come back and stop Ceja, and it was, in my opinion, the best fight and knockout of August 2021. It was a very nice fight and a very nice knockout as well. But Mark Magsayo has also beaten the likes of Chris Avios by knockout. And in my opinion, this fight is going to go in favor of the defending world champion, Gary Russell Jr. Not only is Gary Russell Jr. more experienced at this level, I mean, he's just overall the more fluid boxer, but Mark Magsayo does have a decent chance here, being that he's really young, determined, obviously undefeated and powerful. But the thing with Gary Russell Jr., why I could definitely see people picking Magsayo to win, he's been plagued with injury. He nearly missed weight as he came in like 0.5 ounces over, I believe so. And yeah, I mean, he just didn't look too great at the weigh-in, if I'm going to be 100% honest. Battling the injuries, like I said before, and he's just very inactive. Like I said before, he has not fought since February of 2020 in that fight against Tuxegut Nyambayar, but now he's here, he's back, and he's defending his title against a very tough test. The WBC mandatory, or his mandatory for the WBC, Mark Magsayo. Magsayo, as mentioned before, coming off that strong performance over Julio Ceja, but still, it was only Julio Ceja. And I know that Ceja's a good fighter, but still, Ceja, it was his first fight at 126 pounds, normally fighting at 122. So, I mean, it was really just a lighter Ceja, and Mark Magsayo did have a lot of trouble. But here, I mean, Gary Russell Jr., I think he's going to be the one sort of on the outside countering and controlling the fight at range with his counter-punching, fast jabs, etc. And I really think he's going to get his shots off first and really just dominate Magsayo. Not in a sense where he's just really beating him up, but where a sense that he's tattooing him, landing the better shots, and clearly winning these rounds and getting a pretty wide, unanimous decision. I could definitely see Magsayo getting dropped with a counterpunch in this fight, but just for purposes of if the fight goes a distance without any knockdowns or anything, I think it will be a decision for Gary Russell Jr., and I think that the judges will score this bout anywhere from like a 118 to 110 twice, and maybe even a 117, 111 once, or maybe even a 117, 111 twice, and a 118, 110 once. Just anywhere from 2 to 3 rounds going in favor of Magsayo. And Magsayo's gas tank isn't that great, I guess you could say, because he did look very tired against Rigoberto Hermosillo. And Hermosillo, he got a split decision victory, a very controversial split decision victory over, because he won the first 4 rounds, but then gassed and lost the rest of them. And many people thought that was controversial and that Hermosillo should have won that fight, including myself. But yeah, now We are here. Gary Russell Jr. defending his belt, and Mark Magsayo challenging for a world title for the first time. And I think, as mentioned before, Gary Russell Jr. will get the job done. And comment down below your thoughts on this fight if you think Gary Russell Jr. Still has what it takes to beat all these top guys at 126, even though he's coming back after injury and really just a very long layoff as well. And yeah, if you think he's going to win this fight, and if you think Mark Magsayo has a solid chance here, and I think he definitely does have a decent chance to win this fight, but I just think that Gary Russell Jr., we're going to see him get right back at it in the ring and just counterpunch, box very effectively, come forward at some moments when he knows that he's breaking Magsayo down and get a pretty clear and wide unanimous decision victory. So overall, I believe that Gary Russell Jr. will defeat Mark Magsayo by unanimous decision to successfully defend his WBC Super Featherweight World title. And once again, I think that the judges will score this bout 118 to 110 once and 117 to 111 twice. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.